Greetings, fellow Obsidizens of the vast Obsidian community. Welcome to another video in the Obsidian for Noobs video series, featuring tutorials, tips, and tools for new users of the Obsidian personal knowledge management software. In today's video, which is part 2 of the Getting Started with Obsidian series, I'll be covering the most important aspects of an Obsidian project, Notes and Markdown, two things which you will soon see naturally go hand in hand. Keeping true to the spirit and intent of this series, I'm going to strip away any intermediate or advanced aspects of these two topics and limit my coverage to the bare minimum that a new user needs to know in order to get started with Obsidian. But please don't be misled. Even with the bare essentials that I'm covering in this video series, you will still be able to work productively with Obsidian, which I will demonstrate in the final video of the series, where I will create a real-world project while limiting myself solely to the things covered in the series. But for now, let's look at the very heart of any Obsidian project, the note. As I had mentioned in the introduction to this series, notes are the most important elements in an Obsidian vault. Everything else in Obsidian is there to serve its notes. A note in Obsidian is simply a document in which you can place text. Other things can be placed in a note as well, but fundamentally, notes are most often used for text. You simply click inside a note and start typing. Or you can paste text into a note that you copied from elsewhere. If you do paste text that was copied outside of Obsidian, then some basic formatting will likely be preserved. For example, italics, bold, bullet lists. But other formatting, such as font styles and colors, will be lost. Notes are not divided into pages in Obsidian. They are infinite in length vertically. And unlike word processing software, there are no command ribbons or menus in Obsidian. Note content is formatted using Markdown, which I will cover later in this video. Notes are stored in your Vault's folder as plain text Markdown files with a file extension of MD. In addition to text, notes can also contain Markdown files, image files, audio files, video files, and PDF files. The accepted file formats are as shown on screen. The easiest way to insert these file types into a note is to copy and paste them. When you do that, Obsidian will embed the file in the note. I'll have more to say about embedding files in the third video of the series. Let me demonstrate inserting a couple of these file types into a note right now. Okay, I'm in my demo vault, and I'm going to open Windows File Manager. I'm going to take a PDF file and copy it from the File Manager and paste it directly into this note. So there's File Manager. Here's a PDF file. It's an Obsidian primer. I right-click and copy. Get rid of File Manager. And within this note, I right-click and paste. And you can see that Obsidian has embedded that PDF file into the note. It even includes a limited functionality PDF viewer with the PDF file. And you can scroll through that document and view all of its pages. Right, this PDF file is embedded in this note called Note Sample. Another option I have is I can drag that file directly into the File panel or the Navigation panel in Obsidian. And then instead of embedding that file, that PDF file in a note, it will exist as a separate PDF file. Let me show you that now. Back in Windows File Manager, I'm going to drag this PDF file right into the Obsidian File Manager. And you can see now the file is here. It's a file by itself. It's not embedded in a note. It's a PDF file existing within the Obsidian Vault alongside the notes. If I click on it, you can see the difference. It's not embedded in a note. It's its own entity. It is a PDF file. You still can scroll through it the way you normally can. And you still have some limited functionality here. So in this case, I've embedded the file in the note by pasting it into a note. And in this case, I dragged the file directly into Obsidian, not onto a note, but right into the Obsidian file structure. And now it exists as a PDF file within my vault. We can do the same thing with image files. I'm going to delete this PDF file. And let me navigate to an image file. Okay, back in Windows File Manager, I have a JPEG image of a CSS color chart. I'm going to right-click on it and copy it. And in my note, I'm going to right-click and paste. And that's the image. Again, it's embedded in the note. I have a separate YouTube video on working with images in Obsidian. That goes into great depth with image manipulation in Obsidian. And if you have interest in moving ahead with images, then definitely take a peek at that video. Just as I did with the PDF file, I can take an image and I can embed it in a note as I did here, or I can drag it directly into Obsidian's file manager, which I will do now. And now it exists as a separate entity, right? Just as was the case with the PDF file, I have an image file in my file manager in Obsidian alongside the notes. Here it is embedded in the note, right? This is a note titled Note Sample, and we embedded the image here. Here's that image existing on its own as an image file within Obsidian, right? There's no note title. This is just the file itself. Notice when you put a file other than a note in Obsidian, in the Obsidian File Manager, it shows you the file extension alongside the name of the file. So you can distinguish that from a note. Notes don't have a file extension because they're the basic fundamental component in a vault. But if you put anything other than notes, Obsidian will show its file extension. So immediately I can see, even if I didn't have this open, even if I was in a note somewheres, I can see that this is a JPEG file. I know it's an image. I can see this is a PDF file. You can do the same thing with videos and with audio files as well. Obsidian includes a very basic video player if you drag a video file into a note, and it includes a very basic audio player if you drag an audio file into a note. I think you'll find that for the vast majority of time, you're going to be working with text and notes and occasionally images or PDFs. Okay, so once again, these are the file types that you can include in an Obsidian Vault, either embedding them within a note or putting them in the file manager in Obsidian as separate files. Markdown files, image files of these types, audio files of these types, video files, and PDF files. There are several ways to create a note in Obsidian. You can press the Control and N keys on your keyboard. You can click the New Note button at the top of the File panel, in other words, the navigation panel in the left sidebar. You can right-click on a folder in the File panel and select New Note. This will create a note in the selected folder. You can invoke the command palette by pressing the Control and P keys on your keyboard and then select Create New Note from the list of commands. And you can click the plus symbol in the title bar to add a new tab. When the new tab is created, you'll have the option within that tab to create a new note. Simply click on Create New Note. Let's see these in action now. Okay, we're back in the vault. I only have one note open in the work area, in the central work area. You can see by the tabs, there's only one tab. It's this Note 2. One way I can create a new note is pressing the Control and N keys on the keyboard, which I will do now. And you can see a new tab is opened. Any new note created is untitled. We saw that in the first video of the series. Note 2 is still there. It's not the active note anymore. There's its tab. If I click on its tab, it becomes the active note. But untitled was the new note that I just created pressing the Control and N keys. Let's call this Control N so we can keep track of what we're doing here. Another way I can create a new note is to click the Create New Note button at the top of the left sidebar. Recall from the first video, when you select the File Manager for the left side panel, you have these 5 options, and I had mentioned that the only 2 are of interest to us as new users: Create New Note, Create a New Folder. So if I click Create New Note here, Obsidian creates another note. The previous notes I had open, Note 2 and Control N, are there, but the new note, which has made the active note, again is untitled. I'll call that File Panel. So that we can keep track of how we created these notes. Another method is I can right-click in a folder I can right-click on a folder in the File navigation panel and select New Note. This creates the new note within that folder. All these other notes I've created, Control-N and File panel, are existing outside of any folders. They're in what's called the root folder of Obsidian, which is the root of the vault. So there's the Control-N note, there's the File panel note. If I want to quickly create a note within a folder, in the File navigation panel, I right-click on that folder and I select New Note. That creates the note within the folder. You can see now that this untitled note falls under folder 1 or inside folder 1. And in fact, I'll call that folder 1 note. Yet another way I can create a new note is to invoke the command palette by pressing the Control and P keys on the keyboard and selecting Create New Note. This again now is outside of any folders. So I'll call this one Control P. So we know we created it with the command palette. In fact, let's delete some of these to make some room here. Finally, I can create a note by clicking the plus symbol up in the tabs bar at the top of the central work area. This will create a new tab, and I'll have some commands in the center of it, and the first one is to create a new note. So I click the plus symbol up in the tabs area above the central work area. It creates a new tab, and I can do several things here. What I want to do is create a new note. I click that, and I have a new note. Again, that note is in the main area or the root area of the vault. And I'll call that tab note. So again, to quickly review, the different ways we can create a new note in Obsidian are 1. Press the Control and N keys on the keyboard. 2. Click the New Note button at the top of the File panel in the left sidebar. That's here. Right-click on a folder in the File panel and select New Note. And remember, this creates the note within that folder. You can invoke the command palette by pressing the Control and P keys on the keyboard and then select Create New Note from the list of commands. And finally, you can click on the plus symbol up in the tab area atop the central work area and create a new note that way. Believe it or not, there are yet other ways to create a new note, but these are the most common ones and the most basic, and I'm not going to go into those other options. Okay, let's move on now to the second topic in this video, which is Markdown. As I mentioned a short while ago, notes are the single most important component of an Obsidian vault. They mostly contain text, and the text they contain is formatted using something called Markdown. Thus, Markdown and notes go hand in hand, and Markdown is itself a critical part of Obsidian. Markdown is a syntax or symbolic system that is used to format text in a note. It's an inline code that formats text to appear a certain way, for example, bold or italic. The best way to understand Markdown is to see it in practice. In the table on screen, you see the Markdown coding in the left column and the effect of that coding in the right column. In other words, the right column shows how that's rendered when the Markdown is executed in Obsidian. So for example, in an Obsidian note, you can italicize text by enclosing the text in single asterisks. An asterisk before the text and an asterisk after it. The effect that has is it makes the text appear italic. That's what we mean by formatting text in a note. You make text bold in using Markdown by enclosing that text within pairs of asterisks. Likewise, as you see, you can create strike-through text by putting 2 tildes in front of and behind the text. You can highlight text by putting double equal signs in front of and behind the text. And you can create a bullet list either by putting a hyphen and a space before the list of items or an asterisk in the space before the list of items. There's lots and lots of other Markdown. I'm only showing you the most basic ones here. Again, in this series, I'm trying to keep everything to the absolute minimum. And I believe, for the most part, these are the most common uses of Markdown in a note. There's one more that I'm going to go into in a moment. But beyond what I'm showing you in this video, there's lots more to Markdown. And if you want to dig deeper into it, naturally you can. but I would suggest working on the basics at first. In addition to these examples, probably the most used Markdown formatting in Obsidian involves the creation of headings. Headings are used to delineate and highlight several sections of text in a note. There are 6 heading styles available in Obsidian. As you can see on screen, each heading is a different size and a different weight, with heading 1 being the largest and heading 6 the smallest. I placed a sample of normal text at the bottom and top of the list for comparison. Headings are created in a note using Markdown, specifically by preceding the heading text with the appropriate number of hash marks, as shown now on screen. So if you want to create heading 1 text, again, that's the biggest and heaviest, you put 1 hash mark, a space, and then whatever text you want to appear as a heading 1 text. In a similar manner, if you want heading 2 text, which is the next largest, 2 hash symbols, a space, and the text you want to be a heading. And on until you have 6 hash symbols and a space for heading 6. And again, you see the normal text here just for comparison purposes. Let's take a look at that in action. Okay, I'm simply going to go through them in order. So starting with heading 1 text, I type a single hash symbol, a space, and whatever text I want to be heading 1. When I hit the Enter key, the Markdown goes away, and I have the heading 1 text. By the way, again, for comparison, let me put some normal text there. All right, heading 2 text, 2 hash symbols, a space, and my text. These are the 6 heading styles in Obsidian. Again, you use Markdown to create them, and you specifically use hash symbols. A single hash symbol is heading 1, the largest and heaviest, and then down in order, 2 hash symbols, heading 2, heading 3, 4, 5, and 6. As I said before, these are typically used to delineate and highlight a particular block of text. So for example, let me get some lorem ipsum text here. Let's say this was a paragraph in a document that I had that had some importance, and I wanted to head it to let it stand out. I might put heading 3 text here. To indicate what this paragraph contains and to make it stand out in my document. Headings actually have a more practical value in Obsidian beyond simply delineating sections of text. This is getting a little bit ahead, but I just want to show this to you. Let me quickly copy this and create several sections. And I'll give each one a different heading. And we could imagine that this is a document with important content in it and that these headings actually have some meaning. In the right side panel, one of the options is to display an outline of the note contained in the central work area. And the way Obsidian creates the outline is by using the headings that you used. Any of the 6 heading styles are taken by Obsidian into the outline. So if I click the outline option here for the right side panel, you see that it lists the headings here. And if I click on one I can bring the focus directly to that heading. It doesn't matter which size I use. Let me create another one here, and I'll change this to heading 1. And you can see it still shows up in the list. It could be any of the 6 heading styles, and you'll get an outline of your document here. Now, if you had a very, very long document with lots and lots and lots of sections of text, this could be a handy tool for navigating. You can jump directly to a particular block of text based upon its heading. Okay, for now, that's all I want to say about headings. I do want to demonstrate some of the other markdown that I showed you at the beginning. First, italic text. Remember, italic text is contained within single asterisks. Notice when I type 1 asterisk, Obsidian automatically creates 2 of them and puts the cursor right in the center. It presumes I want to create italic text. So you see the markdown? Single asterisks around text make it italic. If I drop down, the markdown is hidden, and I see the italicized text as it should look. If I want to create bold text, it's double asterisks. And that's bold. I'll put regular text under it so you can see the difference. The bold doesn't stand out all that much, but I think you can see that it is made bold. Strike through, double tilde, highlight, double equal sign, bullet list. We can use a hyphen and a space or an asterisk and a space. You can see immediately it made the bullet, and then every time I hit the return key, it automatically gives me the bullet for the next item. If I want to get out of the bullet list, just hit enter again, and I'm out. I can do the same thing with asterisks. Notice when I typed the asterisk first, Obsidian assumed I was going to do italicized text, so it gave me the 2 asterisks, the first one and the last one with the cursor in the middle. But when I hit the space bar after typing the asterisk, it immediately knew I was doing a bullet list. Now it left the second asterisk there. I can delete that, and then I can go ahead with my itemized list. I think these are the most common markdown situations you'll be faced with: italics, bold text, strike through, highlight, and bullet lists. It's also possible to create numbered lists. You simply type a number, a period, and a space. And you can see Obsidian automatically continues with the numbering in the list. When you want to get out of it, just hit the enter key again. You can also make a checkbox list, also called a task list. That's a little more complicated. It involves a hyphen, a space, open bracket, space, close bracket, space, and then the item in the list. And you can see Obsidian automatically places a checkbox there. You can click on a checkbox, and Obsidian puts a check in there, makes the box purple, and strikes through the item as well. And you can uncheck items. So there's the markdown. Hyphen, space, open bracket, space, close bracket, space, and you have the checkbox. So you can have a bullet list, itemized numbered list, or a task list with checkboxes. And all of this is done with markdown. Now, I mentioned in the introductory video that when you place your cursor on text that is formatted with markdown, you see the markdown code, as you can see here and here and here and so forth. that could become awkward. That's the purpose of reading view versus editing view. We're in editing view now. That's what enables me to perform all this editing and all this formatting. If I go to reading view, I can't change any of this. If I click on it or put the cursor on it, I don't see the markdown. As I said in that other video, reading view just gives you a cleaner reading experience. You can't edit anything. You can't change anything. I can put checks in the checkbox, but I can't change any of this. But the good point is I don't see the markdown. Even if I go right on top of the item, the markdown is invisible. When I want to edit, I go to editing view. That's when I start to see the markdown. Okay, now I want to talk about a very, very useful feature in Obsidian. Obviously, Markdown is an important part of Obsidian, and I sincerely believe that all Obsidian users should learn at least some basic Markdown formatting. But the truth is that you can format text in Obsidian without ever having to resort to using Markdown. The trick is to use what I call the Notes right-click menu. If you right-click in any blank space in a note, a menu will open offering you many, many options for doing a wide variety of things in that note. Among those many, many things is the ability to format text. Using the right-click menu to format text relieves the user of the need to use Markdown. But please realize that Markdown is still being utilized. The right-click menu option is simply inserting the Markdown code for you. So whether you are formatting text manually by directly employing Markdown yourself, or you are formatting text via the right-click menu, the fact is that Markdown is still being used. You cannot completely avoid Markdown in Obsidian. The right-click menu merely makes formatting text easier. Let me demonstrate how to use the right-click menu in order to format text in a note. Okay, I'm back in the vault. Let me get rid of all of this stuff and start from scratch. I'll type some text. Then I'm going to highlight that text. And I'm going to right-click. And I get all these options. This is the right-click menu, what I call the right-click menu in a note. What we're interested in is formatting. So if I right-click on the text and then in the menu, I hover over Format, I get all these options. The first four are the ones we're interested in here. I can make this text bold, italic, strike through, or highlight. In other words, all the Markdown formatting I demonstrated a moment ago manually, I can do quickly and automatically here using this menu. So if I click bold, it makes the text bold. Now notice it put the Markdown code in there, right? This does not eliminate Markdown. It just makes it easier for you. You don't have to memorize what the Markdown coding is. You can simply select it from the menu. Likewise, if I select italic, it italicizes the text for me. Same with strike through, same with highlighting. I can also do the formatting first. I select italic from the menu. It gives me the asterisk with the cursor in between, and I type whatever I want. And I get the italicized text. So I can select existing text and apply formatting to it using the menu, or I can just select the formatting I want and then type the text. So if I go back here and select bold, I get my pair of double asterisks with the cursor in the middle, and I can type the text I want there. If I highlight this text and go to the Format menu, at the bottom there's something called Clear Formatting that will get rid of the Markdown. And now I'm left with the normal text. In a similar way, I can create a bullet list. I'll highlight these three items, right-click. Now it's under the paragraph section. Right? For bold and italic and strike through and highlight, we selected format. If I go to paragraph, I can do a bullet list, a numbered list, a task list, and I can do the heading styles. So let me make this a bullet list. There it is. Again, the markdown's there. You see the hyphen where the bullet goes. I'll select it. I'll go under Format, select Clear Formatting to get rid of the bullet list. And then I'll go back into Paragraph and select Numbered List. Clear the formatting, Paragraph, Task List. And I can check and uncheck items. I can also start these lists without having text present. Bullet list. It starts the list for me. I can then just add the items to my list as I go. So you can see the right-click menu is really handy. You can do all your basic markdown formatting of text using the right-click menu without having to yourself manually resort to Markdown. Again, I strongly advise Obsidian users to learn some Markdown, get at least familiar with it. If for no other reason than if you're in a document that has a lot of Markdown and you put the cursor on a piece of text and the Markdown code pops up, you don't want to be horrified by it and say, what is that? What the hell is that? If you know what Markdown is, you'll know exactly what's happening. But for convenience sake, this right-click menu is wonderful. Now, there's one other thing in the right-click menu I want to show you. Before I do, let me just make note. There are other things here, obviously, code, math. These are all more advanced topics. I'm not going to cover them here. Oh, I do want to cover the headings. Let me do that. So let's take this text, which has no formatting, and go into Paragraph and make it heading 1. And you could see it's that large, heavy font with a single hash symbol in front of the text. I'll clear the formatting and we'll make it heading 4. With the right-click menu, you can quickly and easily make text bold, italic, strike through, highlight it. You can clear any formatting. You can create bullet lists, numbered lists, and task lists, and you can do that the 6 various heading styles for text as well. The other thing I want to show you, and this is, I think, one of Obsidian's most powerful features, in the right-click menu under Insert, we have several options. I want to focus on Table. If I click Table here, Obsidian inserts a 2x2 table. 2 rows, 2 columns. And I could put anything in the cells of this table I want. I can put text, you can put images, you could put anything at all. Tables are really, really handy. Really, really handy. And you can do a lot with them. If you want to add a column to the table, just hover your mouse pointer to the right of the table. You can see that a column opens with a plus. If I click it, I get another column. If you want to add rows to the table, hover beneath it. You'll get a plus down there. Click it, you get another row. So you can add rows and columns to tables very easily. If you highlight a column and hit the delete key, you can delete it. Same with a row. Now, it's possible to create tables using Markdown, but it's a nightmare. I'm not even going to demonstrate it. It's a very complex, ugly-looking thing. Fortunately, you can create the tables using the right-click menu. And what's even more fortunate is that even if you put your mouse pointer on or over the table, you don't see the Markdown here. That was one of a very wise thing that the Obsidian creators and developers did, was to not show the Markdown for the table, even if you click on it. All right, so that's the right-click menu. Again, lots of things here. Right now, very little of importance to us. Formatting, bold, italic, strike through, and highlight, and clear formatting. These others are more advanced. Paragraph, the various list types, and the 6 heading styles. These others are advanced. And insert, Right now, table. Oh, horizontal rule. You can insert a horizontal line if you want. You can create a horizontal line using Markdown by putting 3 or more hyphens in a row and then hitting enter. So insert table, insert horizontal rule. Again, these others, as a new user, you can ignore right now. For a deeper dive into the Notes right-click menu, check out my YouTube video entitled Obsidian for Noobs Markdown Alternative. And for a deeper dive into tables, check out my video entitled Working with Tables in Obsidian. As you might guess, there is a lot more to know about both Notes and Markdown. But with this brief introduction, you have enough knowledge to be able to create notes and to enhance them with formatted text, as well as the ability to insert images, PDFs, and tables. I think you will find that this level of skill and capability, although very basic, is nevertheless more than sufficient to enable you to create and use Obsidian notes in a wide variety of productive and useful ways. In the next and final video of this series, I will be covering what is arguably Obsidian's most powerful feature, links. Okay, fellow Obsidian users, that's all I have for this video. I'll see you in the next video, which is the third and final video in this Getting Started series. Happy note-taking.